So a big hand to Ivar.
Thank you. So I'll be very short here in the beginning. Today we have Simon from Azul coming over to do a talk after the pizza. I'll be the warming up act before the pizza, also talking about Java 17. And we're very happy to be back here at Foo Café. We have some swag. It's kind of old because I was supposed to kind of hand it out last year, but since we didn't have an event, I've had this swag at home, so it's kind of last year's stuff, but it's swag. I just want to remind you of our channels. We have the Twitter and the Meetup. You obviously know about the Meetup since you're here. The Slack channel. The QR code is for the Slack channel. If it doesn't work, I've shortened the URL here. So please join our Slack and discuss there as well. And this event wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Matthias. Good. The topic of the next talk is Java 17, and I'm going to talk about Jakarta EE 10, what's common in Jakarta EE 10, and since it's a Java 17 themed tour, I'll also do a demo how to use Java 17 with Jakarta EE, and I'm actually going to use Jakarta EE 9 for the demo since 10 isn't out yet. But I won't disclose too much. I'll just touch on 17, so Simon doesn't have to change his entire talk. Some words about me. Besides running this Java forum here, by the way, we are always happy for, as I said, speakers, and we're also anyone who wants to kind of contact speakers or help out, please contact me. I work for the Eclipse Foundation as a Jakarta EE Developer Advocate. And I'm also involved in the Java community process, where I'm in the executive committee there representing Eclipse Foundation. And it's from the JCP. I have some keychains and a t-shirt as well. And this is my Twitter and LinkedIn, so feel free to contact me there if you have anything you want to say or hear about. So I'll dive directly into it, and I'll just recap a little bit of Jakarta EE 9, and then I'll get to what's common in 10. Jakarta EE 9, the current version is 9.1, and this is a very small change from Jakarta EE 9, and that means we added Java SE 11 support, and that means that we kind of fixed the test suite so it's possible to certify runtimes on 11. And we didn't want to add too much other things to make the migration easier. So there are three main areas of the Jakarta EE 9 and 9.1 releases, and that is to, first of all, lower the entry barriers, to make it easier for new vendors to enter the market. And by doing what we did here was kind of remove things that people don't use anymore. So some of the legacy technologies has been stripped out of the platform, so you don't have to implement it unless you want to. The specifications are still there, but you don't have to. We also wanted to establish it as a platform for innovation, and by kind of streamlining the processes, making it easy to propose new specifications, kind of set a common ground where we can start inventing new things. And there are a couple of new specifications on the way coming that are being proposed and discussed as we speak. So we think we have succeeded with establishing this platform for innovation as well. And the last thing is that we wanted the migration easy. And with migration, I'm talking about the previous versions of Jakarta EE and Java EE was on a Java X namespace, and we had to do this namespace change. So we switched to the Jakarta namespace. And I'll talk a little bit more about the namespace switch. And why should you care? What if you're not using Jakarta EE technologies at all, or think you're not using Jakarta EE technologies? What if you're using Spring or something else? Well, it kind of affects you anyway, because Spring 6 will be based on the Jakarta EE 9 versions of the APIs. So Spring 6 will, if you're having some applications on previous version of Spring and you want to upgrade them to Spring 6 or Spring Boot 3, well, you're probably going to have some namespace issues there and have to migrate your applications from the previous JavaX based APIs to the newer ones. And Spring 6 and Spring Boot 3 is targeting Q4 next year, so we have 1 year before that happens. And they've already started this work, and this commit is it's more than 4 days old. It's when I took the screenshot, but it's probably a month old that they did actually did the merge into the main branch of Spring Framework with the JavaX to Jakarta namespace change. So it's coming your way, whether you like it or not. And if you're using, as I said, Spring, or if you're using Jetty directly, or Tomcat, or Hibernate, all of these are moving on to the Jakarta namespace. And the new version of Jetty coming out, which will support Servlet 6, will actually also only support from Java 17 and above. So there are some things you need to kind of consider if you want to stay on the latest versions of these applications. So that was 9 and the namespace switch. We're currently working on 10. And the target date we have there is Q1 next year. So within the first 3 months of next year, we should have Jakarta EE 10 out the door. At least that's what we're working towards. And Jakarta EE 10 has a lot of changes. And all the blue boxes here are updated specifications. And those with the 0 in the version number are major updates. So it's more than a half of the specifications are getting major updates, which may include backwards incompatible changes. All the .1 releases are not backwards incompatible, but they have some features coming your way. And the gray ones are the ones that are not updated for this version. They will stay as they were for 9. And the orange ones, config down in the corner and CDI Lite, are new specifications coming in 10. And if we take away these on the end here that are more kind of enterprisey thingy, we're left with the web profile. And since Java EE 6, we've had 2 profiles in these specifications, and that is the platform, which is everything, and we have the web profile, which is a subset of the platform, more targeting web-based applications. And if we do the same thing here and kind of take away the UI and web targeting specifications and just look at what we've left here, that is those that you typically would need for creating a headless or a RESTful endpoint, a web service or microservice, if you like. And that is a new profile we're introducing with 10 called the core profile. And as you can see, about half of these are having updates. And actually, JSON binding was something that we were planned to be a 2.1 release with not incompatible changes, but they have a plan review going on now where they will introduce a little bit of backwards incompatibility there. And then config is marked with an asterisk because we're not entirely convinced that they will make it to this release. So core profile may be released without config. But the major component of core profile is CDI Lite. And CDI Lite will enable ahead of time compilation. It will take away the dynamic features of CDI, so you will be able to determine that at compile time, so you can create native images using the GraalVM and that kind of technologies. And for Jakarta EE 10, we've said that we're raising the API source levels from 8 to 11. And also the APIs will be compiled to Java SE 11, so you have to be on 11 or above. Some of the specifications will also support 8 with multi-release jars or separate jars or whatever way they want to do it. The important thing here is that we are fixing the TCK so it will run with SE 11 and above. And that means that as you as app developers, you can use 17 features if you want in your applications, as long as your runtime supports it. So if your runtime is certified on 17, well, go ahead and use whatever 17 features you want. And that is what all I had planned to say. So I'll go into a demo and show some of this stuff. What I want to do is to show you the namespace change and see how easy that can be done. And I'm taking an application running on Glassfish 5.1 with Jakarta EE 8, and I'm upgrading it to Jakarta EE 9.1 running on Glassfish 6.2. And the application I'm using is a Hello World. And as you know, I can probably write Hello World in one line, but as a proper engineer, I want to have some complexity into it. And what I'm doing is having the message stored in the database. Then I'm using Jakarta persistence to read from the database to get the message up. And I'm using Jakarta Enterprise beans for my business logic around the message, and a Jakarta REST to have a RESTful endpoint producing a JSON that is using JSON binding from Jakarta JSON binding to produce the message, and also throwing in a CDI extension to write a nice log message to the sysadmin deploying the application. And let's go and look at this code very quickly. So I have the complete Duke application here, and I see that I've actually already upgraded this, so I'm going to downgrade this one to use Jakarta 8, and so I'll just go here and do this on the fly. This is always exciting. I'm here, so git checkout start demo. I think that's what it called. So now it's on E8. You can see I'm using Java SE 8 underneath, and I have here Jakarta EE API 8 as my dependency. I'll just refresh this one so we're sure that everything works. Let me go here, reload. There's also something I have to do that I'm just checking here if everything is fixed for me. Yeah, it is good. So sorry about that. The application is a simple Jakarta REST application, and the greeting is has this hi message that is logged with the CDI extension. I'll show how the extension is implemented afterwards, and it has this /hello path that is my RESTful endpoint, and I'm producing JSON, and I'm using the Duke service EJB to find the greeting, and this EJB is very simple. I'm just finding everything using the repository class, and then I take the first one. That's my business logic. And if there are none, I'll just hardcode something. So it's not that super complex, but yeah, that's kind of my business logic. And my Jakarta persistence class is just reading everything from the database using criteria language. It's not that complex. The greeting, which is my database entity, has 3 columns. It's an email message and an ID, and getters and setters on that one. Then I have the CDI extension that just looks for the Dukes annotation and prints this message from the Dukes annotation in the log. So that's my application. And if we look at the ways I can fix this, is there is something called transformation, and that is to take the class files or the bytecode produced, the WAR files or jar files produced in my application, and use some tooling to just do the transformation for me. And there are two tools that I'm aware of out there. It's the Eclipse Transformer and the Apache Tomcat migration tool. And both of these will take your code and migrate it for you, but it won't take your source code. You would have you will have your source code on the JavaX namespace, then do the migration and deploy that transferred WAR or jar to the application server. Then I can always use the IDE, and so the IDEs have different support for this. The IDE I'm using here, IntelliJ, has a support where it takes the source code and migrates it for me with one-click migration. And that is what I'm going to do in this demo. And also have the manual way. So I can do these 6 steps, and then I verify that everything is gone. And I'll use this slide as kind of a reminder when I do things, because we will do the first use of the tooling, and then I'll do some manual stuff, and then we'll see how it goes. So I have my application here, and you're seeing that it is all on the JavaX namespace. So what I'll do is to go here and say, hey, migrate this for me, and migrate from Java EE or Jakarta EE before 9 to Jakarta EE. Yes? The transformer. No, it doesn't, because they are not Jakarta EE specifications. They are in the Java platform, so they're not. So it only takes the things that you're actually interested in, and that is why search and replace can be a little bit dangerous, because then you can take a little bit too much. So you need to. It's not everything JavaX is not Jakarta. It's only the things that are under the Jakarta umbrella. So this tool will do it for you. And I see it doesn't compile now, and that is because I forgot to add the dependency. That is a manual step I have to do. So what you normally would do is to take the add the dependency for Jakarta EE 9, so you have both 8 and 9 in the POM, and then do the migration. But here I did migration first, and then I can just upgrade the POM, refresh my project, and it should be fine. So now everything compiles here, and you can see it's all on the Jakarta namespace. So it's very easy to do this. You could do it manually or use the tooling. It's not hard. But if you have this IDE, then you can do it like this. So what we've done now is actually take step 1 and 2. I did it in the order, but you should fix the POM first. Then there are some other things that you may have to change, and that is if you're using XML namespaces or schemas. These are not done automatically by the tooling, and it doesn't necessarily affect you if you don't have any XML namespaces that are using. But in this one, I have a persistent XML, and I'm using the namespace up here. And if I wanted to of course I can just not use the namespace. Then I wouldn't have any code completion or validation of my XML file. So it's a good practice to use the namespace. And since I'm doing it now, I'll just change it. And you can see the old one is XML and as jcp.org. And to make it easy for us, what we've done, we've added security, and then we call it Jakarta EE simply. So what you need to do here is to replace the jcp.org with Jakarta EE. We'll just do it manually here, and the last one here. So, and when I've done that, the actual namespace file is a practice since old times with Java EE and Jakarta EE is to have the version number in the file, so it's easy to find. So you also have to fix that one. And then you can see that it actually validates and says, hey, this version isn't correct. And now it's updated. And then I will also have code completion on the properties here. So it will help me in changing the properties, because that is the next step. Is that if I have any properties that are prefixed with JavaX, these need to be changed to Jakarta as well. And oh, sorry. So I'll just do that manually, or I have these two here. So there you go. So now I've changed all the properties and the schema namespaces as well. And if you have more XML namespaces, then you need to do that as well. And then the last one is if you have any bootstrapping files. And in my case, I have this CDI extension. And the way the CDI extension is loaded in Jakarta is there is a file here called JavaX Enterprise Inject SPI extension. And this one contains one line or a line for each extension you have with a fully qualified class name. And what I need to do here is to rename this file to, yeah, you probably guessed it, right? Remove the Jakarta, the JavaX, and rename it to Jakarta. So now I've actually done most of the stuff in the code. So I'll just start up Glassfish here. And luckily, I now have a super fast computer, so it's already up and running. And I'll add my artifacts here. Let me just check which one I'm taking. I'm taking this one. There you go. And deploy this. And let's see if it works. And you can see here in the log, it says Duke's message is hi there. So the CDI extension works. It discovers it and pulls it up. And if I go to the localhost 8080, did I write this right? Plate dick. Hello. Oh, I didn't write it correctly. Localhost 8080. It could be that it's running on another port. Yeah, the server is running. And it's called complete dick and hello. Oh, it didn't find it. Sorry? Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's a little. We're getting older. I can't see it so good. I don't know if you have this problem. It's such small font there. It's much bigger there. I should just turn around. So yeah, and so you see it works, but you also may, if you're very, if you're not old as me, you can see here it says E8. Why? This is 9, wasn't it? So. And that is the last step here. Verify the data and dynamic content. Because if you're in your application, you may have some kind of, you can have string concatenations, and maybe you're building properties or building class names or building bootstrapping files from some data somewhere else. And that is dynamic stuff. And that is not something you can do search and replace on. So you need to kind of verify that you're doing this correctly as well. And in my case, this is the stuff that I have in the database. Let's see if I can find the database here. There you go. And just go and open this table here. So you can see it says howdy Jakarta EE 8. And if I change this text to howdy Jakarta EE 9, let's see if I, and then commit it to the database, and now it says Jakarta EE9. So no, we've fixed everything. But I also promised some Java 17 features. So let's do that. And what I want to do now is first I'll just do this since I have this kind of I'm loading my test data in the database using this one. I'll just remove these 2 lines because I don't want to do that, since then it's 8 again, you know. So that's just preparing the demo. Then I wanted to upgrade to 8 here, from 8 to 17, and then I don't need to. I haven't fixed the shortcuts on this installation yet, so I'll just do it manually. Oh, sorry. There you go. Oh, sorry. There. So and since I'm now using something above 9, or then I can use the compiler release rather than having these 2, source and target. So now I've upgraded to 17. So let's make sure this is loaded. And if you remember from my diagram, I'm actually exposing my database entity by using the message and the email out to the end user. So that is not a good idea. So let's put a DTO or some object in between there. And to do that, I'm going to use a record. So I'm creating a record, and I call it Dix greeting record. So I'll just create this here, and what I want to have is a string greeting, and let's use a local date. Local date, like this. So now I have a record with a date and a greeting, and then let's do in the resource class. I want to return this record, and then I need to fix the find greetings method to also return the record. And I don't want to change anything down to the database, so I'm using the entity up, and when I get the end of the Dux greeting up here, I'm going to map it. Let's call it the greeting. I'm going to map it to a new Dux greeting record, and I'm getting the message. Oh, sorry. The message here, and I'm also taking the local date now. So I'm taking today's date and the message, and also if the kind of the hard-coded thing is also a record, and it's saying hi, and let's use a local date of, let's use 2021 9/14. Was that the 17 release date? I think so. And why isn't it compiling here? So there we go. So here I'm taking the stuff from the database, and I'm finding the first, and I'm mapping it to a record, and then returning it up. So everything compiles. Let's go and redeploy this one. So, and you see it's up and running. So, will this work? Huh? Let's try. Oh, it's empty. Why is it empty? Yeah, sort of. The problem here is that the record has a I'll just do there, new Dux greeting record. You see, the accessor method are called greeting and date, and JSON-B is observing the Java beans property and expect a get greeting and a get date. So of course I can do some JSON-B magic and fix this, but there is actually a quick hack that is more fun, and that is, let's just call this get greeting. So let me see here. Oh, sorry. and then the get date like this. And now my getters and setters are called get greeting and get date. So now it should actually work. I'll just redeploy it. And now we have a date and a greeting. So there are always a way around it. And this is kind of, you see, JSON, Jakarta JSON binding doesn't support 8 because we set the level to 11. But on Jakarta EE 11, I'm pretty sure they will fix this. And until then, you can just call the method for get date and get greeting. So it's pizza in a couple of minutes, I think. Jakarta EE 9 was lower the entry barriers. It's to create a platform for innovation, and it's provide easy migration from previous versions. The namespace change was the big thing in 9. For 10, we have a lot of changes coming up, and we're working on it. And as you see, there are lots of major stuff. This may change, but currently this is what it looks like. And it's coming next year in Q1. And as you see, with Jakarta EE and Java 17, you can use it, but there may be somewhere you have to do some small hacks like I did today, or some tweaks to make it work. You can find more information, or actually all information available on jakarta.ee. We have this blog aggregator, Jakarta Blogs, where you can get your blog up there if you're writing something related to Jakarta or Jakarta EE. You can go to the blog and find out how to do it. I have a weekly blog post that is also on Jakarta EE blogs, and the demo code for this application is on my GitHub, and it's called Jakarta EE Duke. And this also has a step-by-step tutorial to do the migration. So that was all I had for today. First one to ask a question with other than can I have a t-shirt will get a t-shirt. Yes? Yes? So the question is whether CoreProfile is competing with MicroProfile. No, it's not. It's actually kind of created on the request from MicroProfile, because the specifications that are there map more or less directly to the Jakarta specification that MicroProfile relies on. And by having this CoreProfile, they can say, you have to implement CoreProfile and this to be MicroProfile compliant. And the runtime supporting MicroProfile will actually also be able to have a compatible with Jakarta EE logo or bypassing the CoreProfile tests. Yes?
Do you have any recommendations for when you have a lot of when you have multiple applications running in the same server? I guess you have it's kind of a all or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question is whether how you would do with having multiple applications in the same server. I would actually split them out and run one application per application server. That is kind of the way things are going now, and that makes more flexibility, and it makes your, if you're using containerization, your container is smaller. Yes? Okay, so if Jakarta config is equal to or related to MicroProfile config, yes, it is. There are many of the same people are working on it, and the plan is that when Jakarta config is established, MicroProfile config will probably be retired, and MicroProfile will rely on Jakarta config. And we're doing this because other Jakarta specs also need some form of configuration, so it's easier to have it as a Jakarta spec. So I think how they're ending up is to take more or less what's in Jakarta MicroProfile config and move the entire code base over and kind of rebrand it to Jakarta EE. Remove some stuff that is not that relevant for Jakarta EE, and slim it down a little. It's a little bit verbose in MicroProfile. Make it a little bit more suitable for Jakarta EE applications. Among other things, introduce tree structure in the config properties. So, but it will be very similar, yes. Okay. Thank you very much, and a t-shirt for you.